back to Dada Art Talk Radio. I am your host, Mona Lisa, and we will be continuing our discussions on Renaissance art. If you missed our previous segment, we were talking with Leonardo da Vinci. Next up, we have Michelangelo Buonarroti, or better known as Michelangelo. So to get you up to speed, in case for some reason you are not familiar with this artistic legend, he is famous for many works of art, including sculptures of David and the Pietà, as well as the painting The Creation of Adam. But today we will be focusing on one of his other famous paintings, The Last Judgment. And since Michelangelo does not speak English, we have Sophia here with us, who will be his interpreter. So now, without further ado, please welcome to the show, Michelangelo.
Good day.
I've been immersed in your art for so long. I feel like I know you so well. Would it be okay if I called you Mikey?
No.
Well, okay then. Thanks for joining us. Why don't we begin with you telling us a little bit about yourself?
Okay, well, where would you like me to start? I know, let's start at the beginning. I was born in 1475 in Caprese, Italy, but I was raised in Florence. At the age of 13, I began the artist apprenticeship, which was actually a little bit a late start for those days. I first had to convince my father to allow me to do this because becoming an artist was a little bit of a step down socially. I only lasted in the apprenticeship for about a year, though, as my mentor, well, to be honest, he really didn't have anything else to teach me.
You must have been so talented at such a young age. So let's dive right into The Last Judgment. When did you create it?
Let me think. Well, I began working on it, actually, in 1536, and it took me about 5 years to complete. It was commissioned by Pope Clement VII, and it was an altarpiece for the Sistine Chapel.
Didn't he die before it was finished? And isn't it true that he really commissioned a resurrection piece and not a Last Judgment?
Well, yes, Pope VII died shortly after it was commissioned. However, Pope Paul III renewed it. Your other question? It's either here nor there.
Okay, well, there's talk that Pope Clement VII would have never commissioned such a piece that disrupted the harmony of the church, and that Pope Paul III, as the new Reformed Pope, may have commissioned it as a message to the people who may have been contemplating leaving the church.
I thought we were here to talk about my artwork. Do I look like a pope?
Okay, I think it's time for a word from our sponsors. This is Mona Lisa with Dada Art Talk Radio, and we will be back with Michelangelo after this short break.
Take the guesswork out of decorating with genuine imitation art from Renaissance knockoffs. For a limited time only, our Sistine Chapel paint by number ceiling decals are 50% off. Stop in and check out the new Deluxe David. This enhanced version is sure to satisfy and stands up to cold weather. The first 50 customers to purchase the new Deluxe David at Renaissance Knockoffs will receive a free travel-size version. Choose Renaissance Knockoffs for all your decorating and white elephant gift-giving needs. Price and participation may vary. Deluxe David may contain lead. Modesty briefs not included. Sale ends 12/31.
Welcome back to Dada Art Talk Radio. I'm your host, Mona Lisa, and we are here with Michelangelo. Before the break, we are just about to start discussing The Last Judgment. Michelangelo, could you tell us about this great work?
Well, as I was saying, The Last Judgment is on the altar of the Sistine Chapel. I was asked to paint this about 25 years after I'd completed the ceiling of the chapel.
Now, wasn't the original plan for the work to preserve Perugino's Assumption painting and to paint The Last Judgment above it?
Well, that may be true, but even the best plans change.
Now, The Last Judgment covers Perugino's entire work, and as some people have said, it disrupts the flow and color scheme of the chapel.
What is this, critique radio?
Oh, I'm sorry. Could you tell us a little bit about the meaning behind the painting?
Well, yes, it demonstrates that the redeemed go to heaven and the damned go to hell. The focus of the piece is Jesus Christ, the mediator between man and God, the grantor of salvation.
In previous Last Judgment paintings prior to the Renaissance, hell scenarios are more obvious, with Satan as the Antichrist figure. It is more like you suggest hell in your piece rather than depict it. Can you tell us about that?
Well, although there's not an actual Satan, in the bottom right corner of the painting there is a serpent wrapped around Minos, suggesting to the viewer the area is hell.
Critics of your work have called it Last Judgment as merciful hearsay and ambiguous.
Ambiguous? How so?
Well, for example, lack of hell or Satan. Christ appears to be neither a judge nor merciful. He's not sitting or standing. Some people think this is due to your religious beliefs.
Hey, I didn't come here to talk about religion.
Okay, may I ask what happened to Jesus' beard? And he also appears a bit muscular and active. His portrayal is much different than the iconic Jesus with a beard sitting on a throne.
Well, maybe I was feeling a bit energized and put some motion to the events taking place. It is my painting, after all.
Fair enough. Now, Michelangelo, you have been criticized a great deal for the amount of nudity portrayed in this piece. People such as Messer Biagio da Casina, the papal master of ceremonies, heavily criticized your work, stating it was a very disgraceful thing to have made in so honorable a place all those nude figures showing their nakedness so shamelessly, and that it was a work not for the chapel of a pope, but for a brothel or a tavern. So with that being said, what is the significance of the nudity, and why did you choose to add this aspect to your piece, as it does greatly differ from the style of the ceiling?
Well, yeah, to be honest, I'm getting a little sick of hearing about the nudity. Indeed, I do believe that a beautiful body is the physical representation of a beautiful soul, especially in man's innocent, unspoiled state. The figures represent my belief that when we are face to face with the Creator, us, mankind, will be stripped of what covers us in this world. After all, it is the resurrection of the body.
Thanks for clarifying that for us. Now it is time for another commercial break. This is Mona Lisa with Dada Art Talk Radio, and we will be right back after a moment from these sponsors.
Come on down to the inn on the beautiful Via Maddalena, where the artichokes are fried in farm fresh butter or fresh pressed olive oil. Your choice, just don't ask the waiter which is which. Order the inn's Friday special, Judas renowned roast wild boar head with Hoffernace sauce. Try the inn tonight, conveniently located next to the Anger Management Counseling Center. Although throwing of artichokes is discouraged, please dress appropriately.
And welcome back to Dada Art Talk Radio. I'm your host, Mona Lisa, and we are here continuing our conversation with Michelangelo. Before our break, we were discussing the nudity in the Last Judgment. So speaking of bare skin, is that really supposed to be yours hanging from St. Bartholomew in the painting? Isn't it a little ironic because it's believed that St. Bartholomew was martyred by being flayed?
Well, yes, it does resemble me now that you mention it. The skin is within Christ's gaze, and it's between the axis of heaven and hell, which is suggesting the possibility of salvation and condemnation. I included myself in the beliefs of the painting. Is there something wrong with that?
So let's talk hypothetical here. Let's say that down the road, maybe in 1564, the Pope employed one of your pupils, Daniele da Volterra, to fix the nudity or problem, as some viewed it, by covering the genitals discreetly. What would you think of that?
I won't even think of such a thing. Next question?
Well, let's talk more about the style compared to the Sistine Chapel wall. When you painted the ceiling almost 25 years earlier, you seem to take a much different approach than with this altarpiece.
Well, I guess I would agree that the ceiling was more optimistic and demonstrated redemption of humankind. The figures were more beautiful and heroic in nature.
Pardon my critique, but the figures in the Last Judgment were not proportional. The figures' heads are too small for their bodies are awkwardly posed, and the figures disorganized. The painting seems to represent the fear and horror of that day, Judgment Day.
Okay, lady, who's the famous artist here anyway? You or me? If you know so much about the painting, why am I here?
Well, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you for being with us, Michelangelo. We appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to be with us.
I wish I could say the same.
And thank you to our listeners. I hope you have enjoyed this segment of Renaissance Artists. Tomorrow we will move on to the Manneristic style. We hope you will join us. This is Mona Lisa with Dada Radio.
Da, da, da.